that they were not seeing a de-escalation at all from protesters. On the other hand, they were seeing an escalation in protests. So far, like you just mentioned, they haven't had any major injuries or anyone really being taken away by EMS, but they have seen small, minor things happening here and there. And like you said again, and like Jesse had mentioned, and John Charlton, as well as Shay, a lot of the people that they are seeing out there are not Louisvillians. It is all people who are coming in from other states, and that was something that Mayor Fisher had touched on earlier today.
With the Black Lives Matter, that took the whole entire intention off of the Breonna thing. All the people came from out of town. They brought a couple people with them and everything like that, and they got to preaching just Black Lives Matter. Black lives do matter. All lives matter. But they focusing on one thing. They putting themselves in a box. How can you just say one type of breed matters? Everybody matters.
So as you know, there are protests going on all over the country. And this is actually Louisville, closer to where I live. There were 7 shot the other night here, 2 critically injured. I believe they all lived, but it's getting out of control. And as you heard, I don't think a lot of these people that are causing most of the damage and like instigating the violence, I don't think they are from here. You know, I think they come in from out of town. And, you know, I'm not going to get into all the weird details and coincidences, but we can all see something's up. You know, it doesn't seem right. Like, if you want to watch more of that, TM Films has been covering a lot of this. But, yeah, this is, Louisville is more about the Breonna Taylor incident where they went into her home and her boyfriend shot the cop because they had like a no-knock warrant, and they just barged in and they thought it was an intruder. The cops shot back like multiple times. I think there was like 20 shots, and they killed her, and they're still investigating that story. Of course, there's the George Floyd incidents, which this cop is kneeling on Floyd's neck. I'm assuming the other knee is on his back. I can't find footage anywhere of the moments prior to this. And conveniently, they crossed the street where the good footage is from the surveillance cameras. And the next footage you see is, a girl that just pulls out her phone to start recording this. And the details just keep getting more and more bizarre. They both work at the same nightclub as far as security. And I know cops do this all the time. I used to date a cop that would pull security on the weekends at these nightclubs. They pull in a lot of extra income this way. So they work together. Nothing's too strange about that. I don't know how big that city is or how small it is. But, the details just seem to get more and more bizarre, as with most of these cases. Most of the ones that get, shoved into the limelight, because whichever ones, people are like, why this one? Why this one? Black people are killed all the time. White people are killed all the time by cops. So why these particular cases? And the answer is, well, it's just whichever ones the media chooses to give us and to make well known. And the media is owned by a handful of people, so it's basically whichever ones those people choose. You know what I mean? So, and then, maybe videos will go viral, things like that will happen. Could happen organically, I don't know. Regardless, like I said, people are killed all the time by cops, black people. What am I getting at, though? I mean, basically, to keep cities locked down, to keep these restrictions in place, if there were a plan or some kind of goal, some kind of Marxist, communist goal, I would say you have to keep this thing going. And the coronavirus thing is not going anymore. The momentum has died. People are done. Even the people that believe the news, they'll wear their masks and they'll social distance, but they're not going to keep locked up for much longer. So I don't know, maybe there's riots everywhere. Maybe it's unsafe. Maybe, we need curfews everywhere. We need things to be locked down to keep implementing these sorts of things. Maybe, I don't know. All I know is the race war this is not organically what this is about, This is about ego. When you see things like this happening organically, this is ego. When a cop overreacts, when they use extreme force, when they come up to me at the park and tell me to get my kids and leave, and they're all mad about it, that's ego. People aren't thinking straight. And when these hoodlums go out there breaking windows and shit, that's ego too, because they're feeling disrespected. They're feeling like they need to puff up their chest and prove something. And it's not helping in any way. It's not helping, obviously. Any rational person understands this. They're not going out there and putting themselves in danger. And what kind of people would just start setting police cars on fire a few feet away from police? Unless they don't care about the repercussions, or they know for some reason that they're going to be safe. Maybe they've been told that nothing will happen to you. I promise nothing will happen to you. And I'm not sure if I mentioned, but there were riots in Louisville in '68, about 50 years ago. And they did so much damage to cities that were actually small businesses that were starting to come up in these areas. They did so much damage that these businesses never came back. And still to this day, those parts of town are ran down. And so, what's that going to do to contribute to everything else that has been going on with the small businesses, with, the food, the farming system, all of these systems? It's like they are all being hit at once. And Carnival has actually been talking about a lot of this, if you want to check out his video. I was actually going to talk more about racism.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you...
And I wanted to talk about Karen, because this lady right here... See, people think racism is our problem in this country. And it's really this darkness. It's the ego, but it's the darkness where people lose this control over their ego. And me and Palma were talking about this a while back, how you'll never get rid of your ego completely. I mean, all you can ever hope for is to be able to maintain some control. And when people let darkness consume them, when they become degenerate or whatever, they lose that control entirely. And they are consumed by this anger, hatred, or points they're trying to prove. Like this lady with the dog, she's so fixated on this point. She's trying to prove that she's strangling her dog. And she knows this man, well, he's black, so in her mind, he must be scared of the police because of everything she's been told. Well, so she tells him that she's going to tell the cops a black man is threatening her. Now, do you know anyone like this? I can tell you that I grew up in the country, in the South, in Louisiana, at a time when racism was at its height. I mean, it transitioned so fast before my eyes as I grew up. Like, we went from my older brother, while he was in school, there was constantly racial fights breaking out. He was jumped by black guys, and, there was always some racial issues going on. By the time I went to high school, none of that was happening anymore. It was starting to, people were becoming more aware that this was ridiculous. And so people may have still been racist, but it was real racism, people nonchalantly using the N-word on a regular basis, in front of their kids and shit. And now we've transitioned to a point where the same people I used to see doing that, well, they just don't do that anymore. And now what you see is the Karens of the world happen to actually be more spiteful in their heart, right? The study shows that it's actually the liberals, the SJWs of the world, who have always been pointing their fingers at conservatives. I guess just because conservatives at least have values in something, they have a foundation that they base their morals upon. Well, it found that, the liberals are the ones that dumb down the way they speak when they talk to black people. They think they're stupid. They think they're all poor. They have like all of these ideas in their head, and they are blaming everyone else for thinking that way. And they say it. They slip up and say stuff like this all the time. Joe Biden saying poor kids are just as important as white kids. That's a slip of the tongue. That shows that he thinks black kids are poor, It's ridiculous. It's absurd thinking that black people can't go get a driver's license to vote, shit like that. And they think they're defending these people. And so in this study, the conservatives actually showed that they just treat everyone, they don't dumb themselves down when they talk to different colors of people. They just talk to everyone the same because we're all human, right? If you're an adult human, we assume you will understand the language we're speaking, and if not, oh well, I don't know. We're not going to dumb ourselves down, right? But this is just, this is some surface level stuff. This is like deep ingrained beliefs that people have in them, and it's subtle. What I'm talking about here is when Karen, like the one in the footage of just now, when you can tell there's like some anger and there's some ego inflammation going on. And that's the Karen I ran into this morning. So I'll tell that story, but basically what I'm saying is it's this darkness. That's the problem. It's not really racism. It's a darkness that people have to overcome, this unconsciousness where they allow the ego to take control, or anger, or rage, or whatever, these emotions. It's this dark energy. You can call it demonic, you can call it whatever you want, but it wants to feed off of others' dark energy. And the only way it can do that is by enraging other people, angering other people, doing all of these sorts of things that work other people up. So I guess to set up the scene here, this happens every year. Every summertime, the kids are outside playing a lot more often. And where our road is, it's a little side road that we live on. And there's only one house that lives above us on the side road. So very, very few traffic. It's one of these little neighborhoods that you put up a sign. The city puts up a, children at play, drive slow. And this happens all across America. If kids are riding their bikes or pushing a little toy with wheels, they go into the road. And they move off of the road when a vehicle comes. And that's what we do. So she's, the lady that lives up above us is very bitter, very angry. I don't know really what, just miserable. She's probably lost her soul. She's probably very unconscious on a lot of levels. And so it angers her. It angers her when she sees the children out playing. And every time, she's looking, her and her husband, they look for things to be mad about. Even though they see us, we see them from pretty far distance. We have plenty of time. We move off of the road to let them drive past. But, she starts getting mad. And she wants to drive, creep along slowly until she gets so mad one day, like this morning, one of those days, and she stops and starts, what the heck? Why would you let your kids play in the road? And, I'm pretty cordial most of the time, so I don't really get worked up until she goes up the road to her house and takes a privacy sign and starts hammering it near her house or her yard as if we planned on going in her yard. And so I yell to her that nobody wants to go into her damn yard. And she doesn't have to worry about this. And she's going to have to get used to seeing children out playing. And they will always move off of the road as she drives past. And that's a normal thing that happens everywhere. That's why we have a sign up on our road to drive slowly. And she starts yelling back at me, saying, you know, one time my 4-year-old threw something at her car. And I know exactly what she's talking about. It was like a little toy car or something. It didn't hit. You know, he was just playing around. I told him not to. He's never done it again. But, you know, that's not even what she's mad about. She wanted to be mad about, you know, the kids playing out. But after I explained it the way I did, she realizes that makes no sense. That makes no sense. She wanted to, you know, say, like, maybe they're out here alone. I'm not watching them closely. But none of those things make sense because I'm always here to discuss this with you. So it's just ridiculous. You know, you're just looking for something to be angry about because you've got this anger in your heart and you don't know where to direct it. It's actually quite sad. Like, these are children. These are children. So she ends it. I turn and start walking away because I realize it's really going nowhere. And she ends it by calling me a whore as loud as she can. And yeah, I mean, she says that a couple times. And she mentioned a video, so I'm thinking she must have watched a vegan parody video, which isn't even up anymore. That's the only thing I can think. So, yeah. Quite interesting Karen encounter, and I guess we're going to have to deal with the anger seething off of them every time they pass. But my point is, towards the end of that encounter, she was looking for some sort of insult to gravitate towards. You know, I could tell she wanted to call my kids some kind of names, and she was like kind of stumbling over her words. So she decided upon whore because I don't know, showed a little skin in that vegan parody video. I'm assuming what that is. But if I were black, would she have chosen another word to call me? You know, would she have decided to like try to scare me by saying she was going to call the cops on a black woman? You know what I mean? Like, when people are angry, they just shift towards whatever they can do to hurt this other person. It's when you understand the psychology behind all this, it's not even upsetting, really. It's like, it's sad that these people, I actually left and I prayed for her. I prayed for her because it's sad that she's still got this anger. I mean, I remember this happening last year. The same thing happened last year. And here we are again, mad over nothing. Like, literally wants me to take my kids and just hide them when she passes so she doesn't have to see any sort of fun, happy times. I don't know. But, or thinks that they should be inside all of the time. They spend a lot of their time outside. We're at the creek, or we're outside, or we're in the garden, or, you know, we're at the playground, we're at the pool. We're always outside. Not always, but we spend a large amount of our time outside. And her family doesn't do that at all. Like, they're complete opposites. So I think that troubles her a little bit. But I mean, yeah, you know, people just have their anger, and I mean, what can you really do? Pray for them, you know. That's how this world is going to heal. That's how this racism is going to heal. And the riots and all of this, it's a darkness. These are dark energies. And so you can't let them come and steal your energy, steal your light, because that's all they really want. This darkness can't find happiness, so it just eats and eats away at other people. And whatever this agenda is behind the scenes, it can't thrive without this darkness. It can't. All right. Y'all have a good day.